Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Nathan Sports Talk. I'm Nathan, and I'm talking sports. Hopefully, everybody is having themselves a fantastic week since the last time we talked. Today, we're going to be hopping into the news surrounding the sports landscape, which has been absolutely crazy over the last week. Now, I was planning on mainly talking about the NBA today and touching on a couple other things, but obviously something went down. I record these on Wednesdays. Something went down in the NFL world that absolutely shocked the minds of many, including myself, but I wasn't as stunned as many people, I bet. So, without further ado, we're going to hop right into it. Make sure you guys are liking, following the podcast, doing all that kind of stuff. I appreciate the support as always. And yeah, like I said, let's hop right into it. So, obviously, today's big news is, of course, George Pickens, Steelers wide receiver, traded to the Dallas Cowboys. Crack of dawn happened a couple hours ago. I mean, listen, I completely understand why the Steelers do this. I know a lot of people are going to have trouble rationalizing, rationale, whatever you want to call it, or whatever the word is, whatever the term. They're going to have, a tough time processing why you would want to trade away a receiver like George Pickens. Let me explain why you'd want to do this. It's because he's on a contract year, and he is, by all accounts, a nutcase, or maybe a loose cannon. Now, is DK Metcalf that as well? I think yes, to an extent. I don't think it's as far away as we see George Pickens do. I think George Pickens is kind of over the top. So, what do I think? What do I think this means? I think this means that the Cowboys are looking to extend this dude, but they also got to pay Micah Parsons. And I said this on my TikTok page, so make sure you guys are going to follow that as well. But I said this over there too, where the Steelers and the Cowboys are in a very similar situation in which they both just paid out for a receiver, DK Metcalf for the Steelers, then of course CeeDee Lamb for the Cowboys. They both need to pay their edge rushers, TJ Watt for the Steelers, and then also Micah Parsons for the Cowboys. They're in a very similar situation in which they're, sort of going up against the cap right here. The only difference is the Cowboys are paying a quarterback, what, $40-45 million. The Steelers are not doing that. And the Steelers, by all accounts, are probably going to go get Aaron Rodgers for $15-20 million or something like that. But, I mean, the Steelers are not paying their quarterback a ton, and the Cowboys are. So the Cowboys going to be able to sign George Pickens and Micah Parsons? That's the biggest question. Is this a one-year rental for the Cowboys? Is that only why he went for a third-round pick? There's potential the Cowboys, look in the mirror and say, hey, listen, we're not going to be able to pay George Pickens, but we think we're in the best position to win now. What's a third-round pick to us? Let's go out, let's get a George Pickens, and let's hope that we can pair him with CeeDee Lamb, and something can go right. There's definitely that thought for the Cowboys. On the flip side, maybe they are thinking, hey, listen, we're trying to extend, George Pickens right here. We got to do our salary cap gymnastics and try to work around the clock. It's going to be pretty similar to what the Bengals did, where they paid Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, and Jamar Chase are all on massive contracts, and their defense looks the way it does, and Trey Hendrickson's kind of just the only one without a seat at the table. Is that going to happen to Micah Parsons? I don't think so. I think Parsons is a he's a absolutely elite player in this league. He is one of the top 3 edge rushers in this league, in which you cannot let him walk. Is George Pickens one of the top 3 wide receivers in the league? Talent-wise, he might actually be up there. This dude makes so watching him, I'm a Steelers fan. Watching him I should preface that. I am a Steelers fan. Watching this dude for 3 years, this dude can make some absurd catches and some plays that you say, how is a human able to bend that way and hold on possession of that ball? He's just not all, he's so incomplete though. I mean, he needs to put it all together. He had some injuries dealing with last year. I get that. But there are times where his head is not in the game, whether it's run blocking, which I guess was an issue. Was that 2 years ago at this point where it was an issue? And then there were plenty of plays in which he somehow didn't get both feet in bounds, where there was like 8 feet basically of grass, of turf, and he somehow still didn't get the ball in bounds. Like he caught it, took one large step, then lunged out of bounds almost. It was kind of like, this is bizarre. But then there's other plays where he makes a circus catch, again, falling to the ground with one hand 2 inches off the ground. Like, he is such a fascinating player that I'm sure plenty of teams would love to take a chance on him, but I mean, it is literally a boomer bust. And the Steelers have this thing where they know when to move on from receivers. You saw it with Antonio Brown. Now, it's really hard to predict whenever somebody's going to have it, just go crazy and not show up to training camps and stuff. That's a whole separate issue. But they've did it with plenty of guys in the past, like San Antonio Holmes, Mike Wallace, all these guys under the Mike Tomlin tenure. He knows when to move on, and they know when enough is enough. I think it's more of a red flag for the Cowboys that you go out and get him. If the Steelers are willing to deal him and not wanting to extend him, I'm not saying he can't change and he can't be a great player, but the Steelers tend to do this almost perfectly where they know when to move on from somebody. It's sort of an issue. The saving grace is he's what, 24 years old. Like, he is super super young. He would have been a first round pick coming out of college if he didn't have these quote unquote issues out of Georgia, these character issues and stuff like that. But it's a shocking trade nonetheless. A third and a fifth round pick, I believe, is what the Steelers got in return, which it feels like the Steelers fans it probably feels lackluster. He was going to walk no matter what. I said this. There's probably a 5 to 10% chance they would have somehow extended him. They would have not given him $30 million, which he would not have wanted. I mean, they weren't going to be able to pay him that. He probably wasn't going to be a Steeler for the foreseeable future, and there's a chance he would have held out of camp too. I mean, I completely understand why he would have held out of camp because he feels like he's due for a contract extension, and he's earned a contract extension. But it's the character issues that are going to hinder teams, and probably hindered his trade value. Was teams wanting to take a chance on him. I don't think the Cowboys make this move if Tet McMillan falls to him at 12. I think that's the receiver. I think they wanted to pair somebody with CeeDee Lamb. And I thought ever since DK was brought in, I thought George Pickens was on the trade block. It was a clock, ticking down when George Pickens would be eventually traded. I thought he'd be traded by the NFL draft or on draft day. That didn't happen. 2 weeks later, this news breaks. It was sort of, again, I thought it was going to happen much earlier. I'm not stunned it happens. I'm stunned it happened after the draft because I'm surprised the Steelers wouldn't want to try to replace it in the draft right there. But I mean, the Steelers the wide receiver core now. I mean, you thought about it, a lot of people like myself were pretty hyped up for DK Metcalf and George Pickens on the same team. Now you're looking at DK Metcalf and a guy like Calvin Austin as your second guy, a guy like Robert Woods as your second or third guy, a guy like Roman Wilson, who Roman Wilson has the potential. I liked him a lot coming out of Michigan, but he was injured all last year. So we will see. I think time will tell if this trade. I think honestly, if I had to say right now, I think it's gonna be a win-win for both teams. I think that he's gonna do well in Dallas, and I think the Steelers are gonna be okay without him, and they're gonna be able to get some compensation with the draft picks they got. Again, a lot of people are saying it's very lackluster. I completely understand why you might think that, but to get something for him when you potentially would have gotten nothing, whether he would have held out all year or he would have just walked in free agency. It stings for your Steelers fan if you think you're in like a win now mode. Listen, realism, they're not in win now mode. They probably aren't going to win a Super Bowl this year. I don't think George Pickens transcends that team enough to win a Super Bowl. I think it definitely helped you get closer, but I don't know if he's the end all be all in which now you take him out of the equation. It's like, okay, well, there's zero chance now. There's still a chance even with or without him. Obviously, a greater chance with him, but I think the trade is good for both teams. I think they move on. Steelers move on from the Pickens fiasco, the Pickens era, which again, a lot of people are going to be upset about, but it's a business, man. You bring in DK Metcalf, swap him with George Pickens. It's basically a swap out. Who would you rather have? Honestly, for me, it's really tough. I think DK and him are very similar. I think they're both excellent receivers. Obviously, George Pickens is a little bit younger than DK, 3 years less, I believe, in the league. So it's a tough call, but I think DK is maybe a little more level-headed, which might help the locker room a little bit. And, we saw him. I mean, I've never seen DK publicly slander his team. Maybe I'm just completely misremembering something. He obviously talks a lot. He's the quote unquote diva. He likes to get the ball to him, but he doesn't go out and slander his team after the fact. George Pickens did that a couple times, in which you're like, dude, you cannot be saying that to the media. Like, come on. I think maybe a little bit immature George Pickens is compared to DK. But like I said, regardless, I think both men are in a better position now. I think, for the Steelers and DK, it's a match made in heaven. And I think at the same time, I think Pickens getting out of Pittsburgh is probably a good thing because I think that he would have felt overshadowed by DK Metcalf, and he probably will feel overshadowed by CeeDee Lamb, but they're much more of a pass rate offense than the Steelers ever will be. So that is the Steelers trade, George Pickens. That's kind of my thoughts on it. Like I said, win-win for both teams, I think. I think it's fine to move on for Pickens if you're the Steelers. I think it's absolutely fine, take a one-year rental or potentially extend the man if you're the Cowboys because getting help on that team, getting him in a bigger market might help him. So, Cowboys trade for George Pickens. Pretty big news, I'd say, coming out today. Let's talk a little bit about the NBA. I'm not going to spend too much time on this because we're still early on in the series, and the series is probably wrapping up by the time this next episode comes out. Again, this is being recorded on a Wednesday, so we don't know the results of the game twos for OKC and Denver, and then also What is the earlier game? Celtics and Knicks right there. But we'll kind of talk about the series so far. Let's start with last night, or I guess 2 nights ago from when you're watching this. These games will be going on tonight whenever this is released. We got the Pacers and Cavs. The Pacers end up coming back from 20 down, outscoring the Cavs 36-21 in the fourth quarter. Tyrese Halliburton, man, he is putting those overrated narratives right behind him. He is showing everybody why he is an absolute dog. Tyrese Halliburton is incredible, man. I was always high on Tyrese Halliburton. He's showing out right now, man. He is so good, and this is classic Cavaliers. I said it to my friends. I said to my friends who are Cavs fans. I said this Cavs team Donovan Mitchell can never do it, man. And listen, I am not blaming Donovan Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell showed out last night. He had 48 points, 9 assists, 4 steals. He played insane, and they still lost. It's something with Donovan Mitchell in the playoffs, which his teams can never get past it. And listen, that Cavs team is depleted. It is very injury riddled. They had a lot of guys out last night. Evan Mobley, DeAndre Hunter, and then also Darius Garland. I mean, that's 3 pretty solid players on that team that are out last night. And the Pacers squeaked by, but the Pacers squeaked by in Cleveland, in which a game they had no business winning that game. It was a cluster. It was a cluster F the entire game for the Cavaliers in that fourth quarter, especially. They had the lead and they let the Pacers just keep getting back into it. And you're like, come on, don't let them hang around. You got to put them away. And they just never did it. And little do you know, the shots start falling for the Pacers and they end up squeaking by 120-119. It was really a horrible first quarter, but ever since the Pacers kind of kept pace with the Cavs and eventually pulled away. Literally last seconds with 1.1 second left. Tyrese Halliburton, absolute dog. He, again, is putting away those overrated narratives. So we talked about the other game last night, Warriors and Timberwolves now. The Warriors end up winning 99-88. Listen, the Timberwolves shot horrendously. It was sort of like a Celtic situation where you literally cannot shoot any worse. Jimmy Butler ends up having 20 points in the game. Steph Curry gets injured. We'll see. I'm sure he'll be fine. I'm sure it's just kind of something that might linger, but he'll be fine doing his thing. I'm sure maybe out for game 2, but we'll see the extent of that injury. The Warriors, I said Warriors in, I can't remember if I said 6 or 7, but I did think the Warriors were going to win this game. They take game 1, even with not really having Curry for a large portion of it or a portion of the game. They end up winning 99-88. Their defense plays excellent. I mean, they hold the Timberwolves to only 11 points in the second quarter. They don't allow over 30 points in a single quarter. Their defense is showing out, man. I like this Warriors team and the way they're flowing right now. Obviously, it was a kind of a scare, 3-1. Almost blew the lead to Houston, but they're starting to put together the right time. Everybody's playing well. Draymond said at the All-Star break, this team, they're going to win the championship. You love the confidence. They've been there before. They've done it. They have a great coach. They have the greatest shooter alive in Steph Curry. I mean, that team's pretty nice, man. That team is pretty nice. The Warriors end up taking that win 99-88. We'll see what happens the rest of that series and kind of Curry's health, but I still do think the Warriors win this series probably in 6 or 7. I can't remember. I think I said 6 at the beginning, but this series might go 7. But looking at the other games, these happened Monday, and I guess there was another sequence of them last night. The Knicks and Celtics. Whoa, this was a crazy game in which the Celtics end up blowing a 20-point lead. I believe it was a 20-point lead. And the Knicks come back and win in overtime as Jalen Brunson is a dog. Him and OG Anunoby both have 29 points. The Knicks fans are singing their praises. I hate to break to the Knicks fans, there is no chance they do not. There's no chance they win the series. Maybe it's 2-0 Knicks whenever this video comes out, or this podcast comes out, but I don't see where the Celtics shoot worse than they did. What they shoot 15 for 60, 25% from beyond the arc. That will not happen again. If they get one more of those threes to fall, 1 out of the 60 threes, they win the game. It's fine. It's fine. The Celtics are going to be fine. I think they're going to handle the Knicks the rest of the series. Maybe the Knicks steal one more game, but I know a lot of Knicks fans are also saying, hey, listen, they shot horrible at the free throw line, stuff like that. They missed, 19 free throws or something like that. Celtics, you're not going to see them ever miss 45 threes in a game the rest of the playoffs, I would imagine. They might have chucked 100 threes tonight just to hit 50%. Like, they're going to shoot the lights out tonight, or they're going to still fire away. They're not going to be gun shy. Celtics end up losing game one, but I think they're going to be just fine. This is probably the Knicks' the highest point they're going to have all year is this crazy comeback in which it's gonna. I think was assisted by the Celtics just shooting themselves in the foot. We also have the Nuggets and Thunder, in which really shocking game right here. The Nuggets end up coming back and winning this game. Again, this was kind of the same situation where the Cavs never put away the Pacers. The Thunder never put away the Nuggets. They missed their free throws down the stretch. They leave Aaron Gordon. He hits a crazy 3-point shot right there for the Nuggets and Aaron Gordon right there. Thunder obviously 68-14, having themselves one of the best years we've seen in NBA history. Best year of the 2020s, I'd imagine, so far. Best record-wise, at least. But Nikola Jokic is the best player on this earth. I've heard people say he's the top 10 player of all time already. I don't think it's a horrible take. I don't. He is so good. 42 points, 22 rebounds, 6 assists. And you got to think about the Nuggets still won this game when Jokic had 7 turnovers. 7 turnovers. Nuggets, they could surprise me. I got OKC winning this series in 6. I said at the beginning. We'll see if that is still the case. It might be 7 games now. Oh, but man, this Thunder team is so good. But they, again, inexperience in the playoffs. These deep playoff pushes, the Thunder have, or not the Thunder, the Nuggets have it. Jokic, he's pretty much coaching the entire team as well right now. So I think that will be the Achilles heel at the end of the day is just no coaching for the Nuggets. And we'll see. I don't think coaching matters as much in the NBA as it does other sports, but I think it could play a hand in maybe them potentially losing the series down the stretch, just kind of, matchups and stuff like that. But Shea, 33 points, 10 rebounds, 8 assists still. He played excellent as well. Just they can never put them away, and they steal a game right there. That's what happens in the playoffs. I mean, the Pacers did that last night too. So teams can steal games in the playoffs. We'll see. My predictions right now: I think the Celtics win the series, and honestly, I think they might win it in 5, maybe 6. Now if they drop the one game, but I still think the Thunder end up winning this series as well. I think they win probably in 7 at this point. And then also you look at these other games. The Pacers right now. I said Pacers in 7 at the beginning of the series. I'm still going to get Pacers in 7 because I think the Pacers could potentially win this in 5, maybe 6. Like, we'll kind of wait and see. Then the Warriors, I did have winning in, again, I want to say it was 6. They're looking on track for that, pending Curry's health. All right, I do want to touch on some hockey for my hockey fans out there. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I'm not the biggest hockey fan. I do enjoy playoff hockey, though. We got some game ones tonight between or one game one, I should say, between the Jets and the Stars at 9:30 tonight. The Jets obviously coming off a thrilling victory against the St. Louis Blues. That was an incredible game. If you have not seen that game, watch the end of that. I believe they were down by 2 with 2 minutes left. And it ain't easy to score 2 goals in 2 minutes in hockey if you're not aware. But they end up coming back, winning the game 1.1 seconds or something like that. Like, barely no time left on the clock. And they end up scoring a buzzer beater shot to send the game to overtime. And they win 2 overtimes. Incredible scenes there. Winnipeg finally getting past the first round. They take on the Stars tonight. Stars are a juggernaut, though, so we'll see what happens right there. I'm going to take Stars in that series in 6. Golden Knights and Oilers. I think Vegas, even the Oilers are a pretty good team, but they do lead the series 1-0. I think the Golden Knights do take this in 7, though. I do like the Golden Knights a lot this year. The Maple Leafs and the Panthers. Toronto currently leading the series 1-0. I guess it's a little bit cheating whenever some of these games have already gotten underway, but I do think the Maple Leafs win this in 6. I like the Panthers. They're 7. I'll say Maple Leafs in 7. Panthers are a gritty team, so they can muster something together. Then we got the Capitals and the Hurricanes. I do think the Hurricanes probably win this series. I do like the Capitals. Love Ovi, love Tom Wilson, all those guys, but I think the Hurricanes take this in 7 right there. So we got some game 2s going on tomorrow. Tonight we got one with the Maple Leafs and Panthers. We'll see right there, but wanted to quickly touch on the NHL because we don't talk about it as much, and right now is kind of the peak of their season. If you do not tune into them, tune into one. I assure you, it is going to be electric. You're going to love it. It is one of the best playoff atmospheres you will ever see. These hockey fans live and die by their team, and these hockey players live and die by their team as well. So they care so much, and it is a fabulous showcase if you haven't watched it. I would definitely recommend, giving it a chance. Want to quickly also just browse over the MLB, kind of talk about some teams and stuff like that. I want to focus on this team right here because The Pirates now losing 9 out of their last 10 with Paul Skeens. I'm sure I'm beating a dead drum. Everybody says you got to sell the team. You actually have to sell the team. 12-25. You're, I mean, next to the Rockies and the White Sox, you're the worst team in the MLB. Can't be having it, Pirates. It's not even that. I mean, you have so many young players, and it's just not clicking. I don't get it. You got to fire Shelton. I mean, I don't like calling for people's jobs, but Shelton needs gone. Bob Nutting needs to sell team. There needs to be some turnover right there. Looking at some other stuff, I mean, the Dodgers doing their thing. Padres doing their thing as well. Giants hanging around there with 23 wins too. Interesting right there. The Cubs looking really, really, really good as well out of the NL Central. Mets looking pretty good, even with Juan Soto still a little bit cold. Phillies hanging in there as well. Mariners doing pretty well, leading the AL West. You also got yourself Tigers leading the Central with the Indians and the Guardians. Ooh, Guardians. Don't cancel me. Don't cancel me. The Royals. Then the Yankees in first place with Aaron Judge having statistically probably one of the best years of all time. Now let's get into some more conversation pieces. Let's talk about this. Clemson and Notre Dame announcing a 12-year scheduling agreement. Love this for college football. Now, if I'm being completely honest with you, I don't see many teams following suit with this because there's no reason to schedule these games because your record is going to be the most important thing. That's just going to leave you in or out of the playoffs. I think for Clemson, this is a good thing to schedule because in a weak conference like the ACC, or I should say, let me backtrack. I think for Big Ten teams and SEC teams, you should not even consider this. Don't even consider playing each other. As fans, we really, really want to see it, but if you're thinking about the best for your program, it's best to schedule, the MAC opponents, the Sun Belt opponents. Not that you still can't lose to them, but your chances are so much more significantly less. Like imagine Missouri and Indiana or something like that, or teams that are on the bubble with maybe Illinois and Texas A&M. They play every. There's no reason to schedule that because if you lose that game, there's probably a good chance you're not getting in unless you win out your conference. So if you don't even have that game on your schedule and where you kind of go up against playoff caliber teams to kind of judge yourself, it's pretty tough. Now, I will say the ACC and the Big 12 are a lot weaker, or at least we perceive them to be a lot weaker. So just, Clemson playing Notre Dame actually helped them out. Well, number one, if you beat Notre Dame, you could probably lose 2 games and still get into the playoffs as an at-large bid, assuming they're not horrendous losses. But, Notre Dame's got that prestige. I don't understand why Notre Dame does this. You don't need to. You're making money, I'm sure, but you don't need to play this game at all. As fan, I love it. I absolutely love Notre Dame playing this game. I love Clemson playing this game. It doesn't make sense though for your program. You're trying not to lose games and you're scheduling harder opponents. And will that look better in the eyes of the playoff committee? It could potentially, but it could also damage your reputation a ton. Again, for a team like Clemson, where if you beat Notre Dame and you're 10-2, you're getting in. If Notre Dame's 11-1, or I should say, if they're 11-1 every year, they're probably getting in. If they're 10-2 with a loss to Clemson, and let's say a loss to some mid-level ACC or Big Ten opponent or something like that, it doesn't look good. It doesn't look good. So if you're Notre Dame, and really anytime Notre Dame steps on it, they can lose a game. They're not this team that bulldozes over team. They've done it. They've last year was a pretty good year by their accounts. But you lose to Northern Illinois, and there was a couple other scares throughout the entire season as well. But really, they were a much better team last year. But you're losing a lot of veteran experience right there. A lot of that secondary help. Still got, I believe, Jeremiah Love coming back, though, which he's a dog. But anyways, they won't even be around when this comes out, actually. So I don't even know why I'm talking about them. But I think Notre Dame is probably... It's a weird thing. And I'm sure there's a lot of financial components going into it, too, which, is why Clemson wanted to take it. I'm sure Notre Dame's making some money from the ACC or something, too. But it's a really intriguing conversation for people to have, to where is it worth going out and scheduling these harder non-conference games? I mean, we see it Michigan and Texas last year. We see Texas, Ohio State week 1 this year. We do see these marquee matchups, Clemson and I believe this article mentions it, all these Clemson, their scheduling and stuff like that. I mean, they've scheduled some pretty tough opponents. Clemson, they have this 4-game series with Clemson, or excuse me. Oh, they were already scheduled to play. Where is this? I was reading this article yesterday. They were breaking down So right here, yeah. So they play another 4 game sequence with Georgia. They already did back-to-back games with Georgia to open up the season the last couple of years, in which that actually I think helped them a little bit because even though they got crushed, you can kind of see them measured up to them, and they kind of already got hit in the face. If that makes sense, you already got probably thrown your best opponent on your schedule early on, and you're able to kind of rebound from that and build yourself up after that. They do play South Carolina every year, which is I mean, Clemson really does play. They go out and they schedule some tough opponents, which makes them battle tested, and is why they're pretty tough out in playoff games. And Dabo Swinney's a pretty good coach because he knows how to coach in these games. So I think it makes somewhat sense on their side, and if other ACC teams want to follow suit, like a Florida State. I know Florida State won 1-11 last year, but let's assume that's not going to happen again. Let's assume that they kind of get things back on track this year. But you might want to go out and schedule some more difficult opponents. I want to say difficult, tougher opponents in these bigger conferences, or I guess Notre Dame as an independent. But yeah, it's really interesting right here. I like the play. I like how Clemson goes out and does this. I like it for college football, but I'm not expecting teams to follow suit. I'm not expecting teams to say to themselves, listen, we're going to potentially risk having an extra loss on our schedule compared to playing, like nothing against them, but teams like Marshall, teams like Drake or something. Does Drake even have a football team? I don't know. But lower level Division I teams, in which you're probably not going to lose. You're probably still going to make a ton of money off of, even though you're paying them to go to your house. But I don't know. It's a really intriguing situation. I would not expect this to be the norm unless there's structure across college football in which you have to do this, in which there's going to be that's still a little bit away. That's still probably a decade away from us having pure structure. I mean, we don't even have the same amount of conference games across all conferences yet, let alone having structure of, playing teams that you're matched in your quality against and all that stuff. Kind of like how the NFL does it, in which you play, the top player or the top team of each, or you match up with a division, first, second, third, fourth, depending on where you finish. That makes complete sense, except there's not full transparency across college football and structure across college football, where you have the Big Ten playing 9 games and the SEC playing 8 conference games. The Big Ten teams aren't going to go out and schedule a really tough opponent, which you got like 10 Power 4 games on your schedule. Whenever there's some SEC teams playing 8 Power 4 teams, and they really got no risk of losing to those other teams, non-Power 4 teams. So if you're kind of getting what I'm saying right here, it's the fact that this is awesome for fans, and I'm super excited to watch this as a fan of college football. But for these teams, more specifically Notre Dame and some Power 4 or I guess some Big Ten and SEC teams, it would never make sense to do this because you're risking yourself losing a game and potentially putting yourself behind the 8 ball, making a playoff game. Because again, we've seen the committee in which they do value who you play, but they take losses into consideration a ton. I mean, Alabama had some great wins last year. They also had 3 losses, which is why they got left out. If they have 2 losses, they're not left out. Ole Miss has some great wins last year. They beat Georgia. They lost to Florida, though. I mean, Florida. I'm not knocking Florida as an SEC team, but I mean, they valued wins and losses so heavily. So, I mean, we see teams like Boise State, 11-1. They beat nobody, and they hang with Michigan, or not Michigan, Oregon, and they're somehow ranked like 6th in the poll. It's because they're 11-1. If they're 10-2, they're nowhere near that. It's because they have 11 wins. They don't slip up, all that stuff. It makes sense to schedule that. It does make sense to schedule that. And even for these lower teams, like if you're like a mid-major team in the Sun Belt, like a UNLV, or a team like Boise State in the Mountain West, or I guess UNLV is in the Mountain West too, but you know what I'm trying to say. But if you're one of those teams in which you could potentially compete for a playoff spot, don't go out and schedule Oregon. Because if Boise State slipped up one time last year, they were out of the playoffs. Even with Ashton Genty, they were out of the playoffs. If UNLV slipped up, and I guess they did, that's what happened. They slipped up and they were just out of conversation. We'll see how this plays out. Again, if there's structure, I'm all for games like this, but especially for the university to schedule them. But the fact that there's no structure and we kind of know how the committee stands when it comes to college football playoffs, because all that matters is getting to that 12-team bracket, eventually 14 teams. There's no reason to play these games. All right. So let's get into a couple more conversations right here. We're going to talk about a release that happened. That is Justin Tucker, and I want to talk about specifically Mina Kimes' comment on this. listen, I am not, some misogynistic type dude, but I'm not trying to get political with this at all. The Ravens released Justin Tucker the right way. Now listen, Justin Tucker, a horrible human being. He's not proven guilty, but we're gonna foreshadow that he probably isn't the best guy. He did put up great years for a Ravens organization. The Ravens released a statement from their general manager and vice president. Let me read off verbatim. It says, sometimes football decisions are incredibly difficult, and this is one of those instances. Considering our current roster, we made the tough decision to release Justin Tucker. Justin created many significant and unforgettable moments in Ravens history. His relatability, focus, drive, resilience, and extraordinary talent made him one of the league's best leaders for over a decade. We are grateful for Justin's many contributions while playing for the Ravens. We sincerely wish him and his family the very best in this next chapter of their lives. Again, statement from their vice president and general manager. Nothing really out of the ordinary right there. Basically saying how, listen, Justin, we appreciate what you did, but obviously we can't keep you. It's basically implying that, listen, we know there's stuff going on, and you just can't be on this roster anymore. You didn't have the best year last year. We're just going to kind of move past it, but we wish you and we thank you for everything you've done. Mina Kimes from ESPN goes out and quote tweets this, says, was this toe necessary? Basically saying how it's ridiculous that they gave him a proper farewell. Mina Kimes, I think, is a pretty solid reporter for all accounts, or a pretty solid analyst. This is one of the worst takes out there on the internet right now. It is absolutely necessary that you go out and you do this the correct way. Because number one, technically he has not been charged with anything. He's not proven. He's technically still innocent until proven guilty. That's how the U.S. justice system works. So whether you believe it or not, whether you believe he did it or not, it doesn't matter because he's technically not proven guilty yet. So, and will he be proven guilty? We'll see. Will something get settled? We'll see. But this is the situation. He's not proven guilty yet. The tone's necessary because he did so much for the organization. He probably was a great leader in the locker room. Now, did he have his personal issues? Absolutely. We're not going to overlook that. He is not probably a great person. But he was a great locker room guy. He was a great leader. He was the best kicker, arguably in NFL history. I mean, percentage-wise, I think he still leads percentage-wise. He's one or two between him and Vinny. I mean, there's really no conversation. I mean, Morton Anderson's great. He played for 27 years. Justin Tucker was... I mean, he trotted out on the field, and you knew he was going to make the kick. How many kickers have you said that throughout your history? I mean, right now we got Boz, who you don't think's ever going to miss. You had Morton Anderson. You had Johnston. You had all these guys. Justin Tucker was that for 12 years with the Ravens organization. He just got there in 2012. He played 12 years for them. He holds the record for the longest field goal of all time, 66 yards. And he did so much for a Ravens organization. The tone is absolutely necessary many times. The comments are great on this. I recommend you scroll through them. The Sports on Tap Betting literally put it perfectly. Said still investigating. He's not guilty yet. Can't just crap on him. I think it's fine. We don't need to make a story about everything. Perfect situation right here. She said. Then Mina responds and says, "There's a vast spectrum between crapping on someone and singing the praises of a guy who's been accused of a guy being accused by 16 different women of sexual misconduct." She's absolutely right. I mean, he's not a great human being, clearly. I mean, but they're not singing the praises of him. They're not sitting there saying, "Listen, Justin Tucker is the greatest person on earth. We hope somebody else signs him immediately." They're not saying that. They're literally saying, "Thank you, Justin. Good luck with everything. We're gonna have to go our separate ways, though." That's all they're saying. Mina, this is not a good look for you. This is not a good look for you. And again, I don't think there's a chance that he's proven innocent or he doesn't settle something, because 16 different women, it's a lot of women right there. There's different, you got to pick your battles right here, Mina. I know this means nothing coming from me. She's never going to see this clip. She had no idea who I am. There's no reason to put out this statement just trying to trash a guy and get a reaction and push your narrative. Everybody knows Justin Tucker now. Everybody knows the real person Justin Tucker is. No one's saying he's a great person anymore. We are saying he's a great kicker. That he was a great kicker. He was maybe the best kicker we've ever seen. So for the Ravens organization to acknowledge that he did so much for their organization, and while there's definitely controversy around him right now, they do want to thank him for all his contributions, is not a problem at all. I don't see a single issue with this, and I'm sure the vast majority of people don't either. Now, I'm sure there's some people who are very upset that they even put out a statement saying how they appreciate him and all this stuff from what he did. Those people's opinions are wrong, in my opinion. I don't usually tell people's opinions are wrong. I think you always thank a guy for what he did, because he never did anything to you. I mean, you don't have to bash a guy. You don't have to bash a guy. Thank him, move on. And we knew this was going to be the case whenever they drafted, I believe it was Tyler Loop. We knew it was going to be the case that probably wasn't going to be a Raven for too much longer. He's probably getting released. Again, missed all the allegations and stuff like that, but this was the correct way to do it, in my opinion. I don't think the Ravens did anything wrong. I think Mina Kimes in the wrong here. I think this is the biggest reaction from a notable person I've seen on this case, and just the statement. I mean, people are calling for Justin Tucker's job, fair. But to call and, for an organization doing it professionally, call them out and say it's ridiculous that they needed to be, take a stance that this can't happen. It can happen. I'm not saying it can't happen, but it's the correct way to handle things. It's the professional way to handle things. Final thing we're talking about is a guy who's probably not going about it the right way right now. That's Abdul Carter. Listen, I'm a Penn State fan. I wish Abdul would just take a number and shut up. Abdul Carter, if you haven't heard the news yet, over the weekend, I believe it was released, he was asked for Lawrence Taylor's number to be unretired, and he'd wear it. He asked Lawrence Taylor, and Lawrence Taylor basically hung up the phone and said, no, you're not getting my number, not getting number 56. So what's Abdul's next move? Hey, listen, I'm going to go out and I'm going to try to take number 11 from Phil Simms. I'm going to ask him, and Phil Simms is like, no. Where does all this come from? I think it all stems from Warren Moon unretiring his number for Cam Ward. It's probably where it all stems from, if we're being honest with ourselves. It's probably because Warren Moon gave his number to Cam Ward, and Abdul thought, hey, listen, I'm this guy who is supposed to be a generational talent, was maybe the best player in this draft. Maybe let me wear the numbers. They're just kind of like, no, dude, no. And it's the correct decision. Abdul, shut up and take a number. There's been reports that he did this actually at Penn State too with number 22, which is also retired by Penn State, and they basically told him, no, dude, no. Like, number 11 is this prestigious outside linebacker number at Penn State. Just take that and be happy with it. You don't need number 22, which is retired. He loves going after the retired numbers. I think he's getting a lot of heat for it. It's maybe a little too much, but it's definitely like, come on, Abdul. Like, self-awareness is the biggest key. This is everything in life. This is the great life lesson. Self-awareness is so key. You have to know what the number 11 means to the Giants organization, the number 56. There's so many different numbers. Take a number and make it your own. Make people want to wear a number 54 that has Carter on the back. Not 56 in which you think either Lawrence Taylor or Abdul Carter. I get at Penn State, when you think of number 11, you think of plenty of guys. LeVar Arrington. You think of Micah Parsons. And, of course, most recent, Abdul Carter. But make the number your own, Abdul. You're going in the NFL now. You got the chance to be, and what I've said, I think he has a chance to be the best edge rusher in this league. He's going to probably reset the market in 5 years. He probably will. He might be the first defense player to get $50 million a year. I think that highly of him. You just got to have some self-awareness not to ask for these numbers, Abdul. Not to ask for these numbers. I mean, people are slandering him. Like I said, it's maybe a little too much over just numbers, but it is the self-awareness aspect of it, which, I mean, we got to think this through, Abdul. You're probably not going to walk into that building as a rookie and say, give me number 11, give me number 56. If Aaron Rodgers ain't walking into the Jets building and saying, give me number 12 off Joe Namath, you're not walking into the Giants organization saying, give me the greatest defense player of all times number, and give me the quarterback who led you to Super Bowls and won you Super Bowls number. That's not going to happen. That is not going to happen. So, I think that's where we'll end off the conversation today. A little bit shorter podcast, probably 39, 40 minutes, but it was a good talk nonetheless. Appreciate you guys for hanging out. As always, make sure you guys liking, following, subscribing, whatever platform you are listening on right here. It means the world to me. Again, talked about, Clemson. I'm just looking at the tabs right. Clemson, Notre Dame. Again, love it for as a fan, but dislike it in the fact that it's probably not going to catch on. We talked a little bit about NBA, some great playoffs. Talked about the Cowboys and George Pickens trade, obviously the big news of today. A little bit about the Stanley Cup and the MLB, and then Mina Kimes' opinions on Justin Tucker, and then we also discussed about Abdul Carter. So really good conversation today. Appreciate everybody for listening as always, and take care.